here is what happens to a pair of ordinary legs between the ages of 55 and 75 if nothing changes. Not the worst case, the ordinary one. The one that sneaks up so slowly you never notice the day it crossed a line. It starts with a sock. You take it off at night and there's a ring pressed into your skin above the ankle. You think nothing of it. Everyone has that. By the next stage, the ring is still there in the morning. And by the stage after that, the skin where the ring used to sit has changed color and it doesn't go back. That whole slide takes about 20 years. And the strange part is this. The veins you can see bulging on the surface are not where the problem lives. They are the smoke. The fire is somewhere else entirely, in a muscle that almost no one thinks about, sitting deep in your calf, doing one of the most important jobs in your whole circulatory system. When it goes quiet, the timeline above starts moving. So today I want to walk you through that timeline, stage by stage. Where you are right now, what changes in 18 months, what changes in 5 years. And the exact window, the point on the line where you can still turn the whole thing around. The 15-minute appointment isn't built to walk you through this slowly. That's not a conspiracy. It's a schedule. So let me give you the time it actually takes. Stage 1 is right now. And the honest truth is that most of stage 1 is invisible to you. Let me tell you what your legs are doing while you read this. Blood travels down to your feet easily. Gravity does that work for free. The hard part is the trip back up. Your leg veins have to push blood uphill against gravity all day, every day, from your ankle to your heart. To do that, they rely on two things: tiny one-way doors inside the veins, called valves, and a pump. Picture a canal that climbs a hillside. You cannot just let water flow uphill, so engineers build a staircase of locks. Each lock is a chamber with a gate. Water comes in, the gate closes behind it so nothing slips back down, and then it's lifted to the next chamber. Lock by lock, the water climbs the hill it could never climb on its own. Your leg veins work exactly like that staircase. The valves are the gates, and the pump that lifts the water from one lock to the next is your calf muscle. Every time you take a step, your calf squeezes the deep veins inside it, and a slug of blood gets pushed up to the next valve. The valve snaps shut behind it. The blood cannot fall back. That's the system. That's how your blood defeats gravity all day long. In stage 1, the gate's still close. The pump still fires. But you are sitting more than you used to. You're standing at the counter without moving your feet. The pump is working part-time. So, what do you feel? Heaviness in the legs by evening? A dull ache after a long day on your feet? Maybe one ankle looks a little puffier than the other by nighttime, and it's gone by morning. And that sock ring? You feel tired legs and call it age. Here's what you don't feel yet. Behind the scenes, blood is starting to linger at the bottom of the staircase a little longer than it should. The pressure in those lowest veins is creeping up. The walls are stretching, slowly, the way a balloon left half inflated for years loses its snap. This is the most important thing to understand about stage 1. You feel almost nothing, and that is precisely why nobody acts. The window where this is easiest to fix is the window where it bothers you least. Stage 2 arrives somewhere around 18 months to 2 years down the line if the pump stays asleep. Now, the puffiness doesn't fully disappear overnight. You wake up and the ankle is closer to normal, but not all the way back. By mid-afternoon, it's swollen again. The sock ring is deeper and stays longer, and now you start to see the veins. Ropey, blue or purple, raised above the skin, usually on the calf or behind the knee. These are varicose veins. The word just means a vein that has become enlarged and twisted. Here's the myth I need to take apart, because it's the single most expensive belief you can hold about your legs. The myth is that the bulging vein is the problem, that if you could just get rid of that one ugly vein, you'd be fixed. The reality, according to the Cleveland Clinic, is that a varicose vein is a symptom of a deeper failure. The valves inside have stopped sealing. When a valve gate stops closing, gravity wins. Blood that should have climbed to the next lock falls back down instead. Doctors call this venous reflux, blood flowing backward, the wrong way down the staircase. It pools in the lock below, the pressure rises, and the vein wall, already stretched, balloons outward where you can see it. So the bulge on your skin is not the disease, it is a pressure gauge. It is telling you that somewhere below it, A gate has failed and the pump isn't keeping up. You can stare at that vein all you want. The thing that broke is the valve you can't see and the pump that stopped supporting it. In stage 2, you also start noticing other things. Itching over the vein, a throbbing or cramping at night, especially in bed, restless legs that won't settle. These are all the same story told different ways. Blood is sitting where it shouldn't, and stagnant blood irritates the tissue around it. And here is a number worth holding on to. The Cleveland Clinic reports that roughly 1 in 3 adults has varicose veins. So if you have them, you are not unusual. You are in enormous company. But here's the part that company doesn't tell you. About 1 in 50 of those cases progresses each year into something more serious. That's the slide from stage 2 towards stage 3. Quiet. Steady. 1% of an inch at a time. Stage 3 is what happens around the 5-year mark and beyond, when the pressure at the bottom of the staircase has been high for long enough that the tissue itself begins to change. I want to be careful and calm here because this is the part people get scared about, and fear is not useful to you. So let me just describe it plainly. The skin around your ankle starts to discolor. It turns a brownish, rusty shade, usually on the inner ankle first. That color is iron. Red blood cells have been leaking out of the overpressured veins into the tissue, and when they break down, they leave an iron stain behind. The skin can also get hard and tight, almost woody to the touch, as the trapped fluid triggers scar tissue. The medical name for that hardening is lipodermatosclerosis. It simply means the skin and the fat layer underneath have become inflamed and stiff. At this stage, the swelling is most of the day, not just the evening. And in the most advanced cases, the skin over the ankle becomes so starved and fragile that it breaks open into a sore that won't heal on its own. That's called a venous ulcer. It is the end of the road for this particular timeline, and it is exactly what we are trying to stay far away from. This is now what doctors call chronic venous insufficiency, the long-term failure of the leg veins to move blood back up. The Cleveland Clinic notes it usually shows up after age 50, and the risk climbs the older you get. The progression is staged from 0 to 6. Stage 0, you feel tired legs but nothing shows. Stage 1, you see spider veins. Stage 2, varicose veins. And the higher numbers are the skin changes and the ulcers I just described. Now, I've just walked you down a long, slow hill. Heaviness, to visible veins, to skin changes, to a sore that won't close. 20 years from the first sock ring to the last stage. And here is the most important sentence in this entire video. You are not a passenger on this timeline. There is a brake, and almost nobody is pressing it because almost nobody knows where it is. So, let's find the brake. Let me show you the exact point on this line, where the trajectory bends. The brake is not a vein. You cannot break a varicose vein by rubbing cream on it. The brake is the pump. The brake is your calf. Think back to the canal staircase. There are 2 ways that system fails. The gates can break, that's the valves, the reflux. Or the pump can stop lifting, that's your calf going quiet from too much sitting and too little real movement. Here is the hopeful part, and I want you to really hear it. The valves, once they're badly damaged, mostly don't repair themselves. That part is hard to reverse. But the pump? The pump is a muscle, and muscles answer when you call them. A weak, sleepy calf pump puts more strain on the gates that are still working. A strong, well-fired calf pump takes that strain off, empties the veins more completely with every step, and drops the pressure at the bottom of the staircase. You cannot unbreak a broken gate, but you can make the pump so strong that it carries the load the broken gates can't. That's the interruption point. That's where the line bends. And it bends not with surgery, not with a pill, but with one specific muscle that the entire conversation about leg veins has somehow forgotten. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. These mechanisms connect, and the next video builds directly on this pump. So which muscle is it? Here's where it gets interesting, because most people, if you ask them to point to their calf muscle, would grab the big rounded one, the one that pops out when you stand on your toes. That's the gastrocnemius. It's real, it matters, and it is not the one I'm here to talk about. Underneath it, deeper, flatter, running from just below your knee all the way down to your heel, is a second muscle. It's called the soleus, and the soleus is the one everyone forgot. For most of medical history, the soleus was treated as a quiet background player, a postural muscle that just helps you stand up. Then, in 2022, a research team at the University of Houston, led by Mark Hamilton, published a study in the journal iScience that changed how scientists see this muscle entirely. They found that the soleus, even though it makes up only about 1% of your body weight, is metabolically extraordinary. Unlike most muscles, which burn through their stored sugar and tire out fast, the soleus runs on a different fuel mix and can stay active for hours without fatiguing. They called the movement they designed to activate it the soleus push-up. And here's why this matters so much for your veins. The soleus is the deep workhorse of your calf pump. It wraps directly around the largest deep veins in your lower leg. When it contracts, it squeezes those veins hard, and because it doesn't tire, it can keep squeezing, keep lifting blood up the staircase for far longer than the showy muscle on top. So picture it. The forgotten muscle is the engine of the pump, and in a world where we sit for hours, the soleus is the part of you that goes to sleep first and stays asleep longest. We didn't lose the pump because the pump wore out. We lost it because we stopped asking the engine to run. That is the whole secret of this video. Flat, lighter, less painful legs do not come from chasing the vein you can see. They come from waking up the muscle you forgot you had. Before I give you the plan, I have to stop and draw a hard line because this is your circulation and I will not be loose with it. There are signs that mean you do not exercise, you do not wait, you call a doctor. If one leg suddenly swells up much more than the other and it feels warm, tight, painful, or looks red, that can be a blood clot, and that is an emergency, not a calf pump problem. If you ever have chest pain or sudden shortness of breath along with leg swelling, that is a call now situation. If you have a sore on your leg that won't heal, broken skin, or bleeding from a vein, that needs a clinician, not a home routine. And if your skin has already turned hard and brown, you are past the stage where movement alone is enough. You still move, but you do it under guidance. One more. If you wear compression stockings or take any blood thinner or heart medication, talk to your doctor before you change anything about your routine, including starting this one. Movement is medicine, but you don't change your medicine on your own. The plan I'm about to give you is for the heaviness, the swelling, the aching, the early bulging, the stages where the pump is the lever. It is not a treatment for a clot, an ulcer, or advanced disease. Hold that line with me. Now, the 21-day plan to wake up the soleus and rebuild the pump. 21 days is not magic. It is roughly how long it takes for a sleepy muscle to start responding and for daytime swelling to noticeably drop. You will not erase a vein that's already there in 3 weeks. Anyone who promises that is selling something. What you can change in 3 weeks is how your legs feel, how much they swell, and which direction you're heading on that timeline. Let me be honest with you about that, because honesty is the only thing I have to offer you. Here's the structure. 3 layers. We build them 1 week at a time. Week 1 is the soleus push-up, and you do it sitting down, which is the entire point. Sit with both feet flat on the floor, knees bent at about a right angle. Now lift your heels off the ground while keeping the balls of your feet and your toes planted. Push down through the front of your foot so your heels rise as high as they comfortably go, then let them come back down. That's 1. The Houston team found this seated movement uniquely targets the soleus. Do it slowly, rhythmically, the way you'd tap a foot to music. Not fast, not forced. Your goal in week 1 is simply duration. Aim for stretches of 10 minutes at a time. A few times through the day while you watch television, while you read, while you sit at the table after a meal. You can build up to far longer. This muscle doesn't tire the way others do. The beauty of it is that you can do it during the very sitting that caused the problem in the first place. The hours that put your pump to sleep become the hours that wake it back up. Week 2, we add the standing calf raise to bring in the whole pump. Stand behind a sturdy chair, hands resting on the back for balance. Rise up onto the balls of both feet, lifting your heels as high as you can. Hold for a count of 2 at the top. Then lower slowly, taking a full count of 3 on the way down. The slow lowering matters more than the lift. Start with 10 of these, twice a day. Build toward 15 or 20 as it gets easier. This is the move that squeezes the veins hardest and empties the staircase most completely. Then add ankle pumps, which you can do lying in bed, morning and night. Point your toes away from you. Then pull them back toward your shin, like pressing and releasing a gas pedal. 20 of those. They flush the lowest locks of the staircase before you've even stood up. Week 3. We make it constant. The single biggest enemy of your calf pump is stillness. So the rule for week 3 is simple. No sitting and no standing in one place for longer than 30 minutes without moving your feet. Set a quiet timer if you have to. When it goes off, you stand and do 10 calf raises, or you do 30 seconds of Soleus push-ups, or you simply walk to the other room and back. A short walk is the most natural calf pump exercise there is. Every step is one squeeze of the engine. Layer on top of all this 2 supports that make the pump's job easier. First, elevation. Once a day, lie down and put your legs up above the level of your heart for about 30 minutes propped on pillows or feet up the wall. This lets gravity briefly run in your favor and drains the locks completely. Second, if your doctor has recommended compression stockings, wear them. They press the staircase from the outside and help the gates hold. The exercise and the stockings are partners, not rivals. That's the plan. A seated movement that retrains the forgotten muscle. A standing movement that powers the whole pump. A rule that never lets the pump fall fully asleep again. And 2 supports that take the load off your tired gates. Now let me tell you, honestly, what this does and does not do, because I'd rather you trust me at the end of 3 weeks than be disappointed. What reverses, and reverses quickly, the heaviness, the evening swelling, the aching, the night cramps. These respond fast, often within the first 2 weeks, because they're caused by stagnant blood, and a working pump moves that blood. The morning puffiness shrinks, the sock ring fades faster. Your legs simply feel lighter. This is supported by real evidence. A systematic review published in the National Library of Medicine found that structured exercise training improved calf pump function, muscle strength, ankle movement, and quality of life in people with venous insufficiency. What improves more slowly, over months, not weeks? The strength of the pump itself, and your ability to keep the pressure low day after day. A randomized trial published in the Journal of Vascular Surgery found that after 6 months of structured calf muscle exercise, patients' pump function returned to normal ranges. 6 months, not 3 weeks. So 21 days is where you start to feel it. The deeper repair keeps going long after. And here is what does not reverse, and I will not pretend otherwise. The same research found that exercise did not fix the broken valves, it did not reduce the reflux itself. The gates that have already failed stay failed. A large, ropey varicose vein that's already there will not vanish because you did calf raises. What changes is that the strong pump now carries the load those broken gates can't. So the pressure drops, the symptoms ease, and the slide down the timeline slows or stops. You are not rebuilding the gates. You are building an engine so strong the failing gates stop mattering as much. For a vein that's already large and bothersome, a vascular specialist has real, effective treatments, and the pump work makes those treatments hold better afterward. So that's the honest contract. Feeling? Fast. Function? Over months. Existing damage? That's a conversation with a specialist. But the direction of the whole timeline that you control starting tonight. Before I close, I want to ask you something, and I read every answer. Tell me your age in the comments. Just the decade is fine. 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. I'm asking because the timeline I described moves at different speeds depending on where you're starting. And after 70, some of the skin changes need a gentler approach to the standing work. So when I write the next one, I want to know exactly who's sitting across from me. Drop your decade below. Let me leave you with the one image I want you to carry out of here. Your legs are a staircase of locks, climbing a hill against gravity, all day, every day. The bulging veins you can see are just the gauge telling you the gates are tired. But there is an engine at the bottom of that staircase, a deep, patient, fatigue-proof muscle called the soleus, and for most of your life, nobody told you it was there, and nobody told you it had gone to sleep. You don't need to chase the vein, you need to wake the engine. You can start the very next time you sit down. Heels up, toes planted, slow and steady. That small movement, repeated, is you pressing the brake on 20 years of drift. 3 weeks to lighter legs. The rest of your life to keep them that way. I'll see you in the next one.